any movies that have boats. Like at all. What happened? You made my brain go blank. What's your favorite movie on a boat?
I like Life Aquatic a lot.
Okay.
Life of Pi, that was pretty fun. It was like a cool visual movie.
That's the one with the tiger?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Or is it?
I don't know. I don't get it because
yeah, because you haven't
seen it.
You didn't read the book then, I guess.
No.
It was a pretty good book too. It was very popular. Oh, Piranha 3D. That was fun. I actually really like Piranha 3D. It's like a bad movie, but it's a great like B movie.
I love when like movies put the like film medium in the title just to make it more exciting. It's also the third one.
Oh, it is
3. Okay. I thought it was just like, we're going to make this movie called Piranha, but like people are going to think it's dumb.
James Cameron did one of the Piranhas. Maybe Piranha 2, actually.
Oh.
And then there's Piranha 3D, which is pretty recent. Well, it's probably like 10 years old. And then the sequel to Piranha 3D was Piranha 3 Double D. Not 4.
Was it a porn movie?
No, but it does have boobs in it.
Oh, okay.
Also, Moby Dick.
Big boobs.
Well, in that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Moby Dick, the one with Gregory Peck.
Oh, I didn't know they made that into a movie.
Yeah, I liked it. I like Moby Dick, though. There's another one you can read. You can borrow that from me. Do you want to read that one?
No, not really.
All right, well, I guess we should get into it. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of I Love This, You Should Too. And we are part of the Alberta Podcast Network, which is locally grown and community supported. With me is my co-host Samantha. My heart will go on, and my name is Indy. From Hell's Heart, I stab at thee, Randella.
Is that from Moby Dick?
That is from Moby Dick, yes.
Hi, Indy.
Hi, Sam.
It was very dramatic.
Not like, remember the intro from The Lighthouse?
Yeah.
That was dramatic.
That was dramatic.
Go back and listen to our episode on The Lighthouse. But today, we're not going to be talking about that. We each are going to be talking about something that we are into lately, and we'll give a spoiler-free review of that. And then at the end of the episode, Samantha is going to let us know what her pick is for our big watch next week.
Yeah, I'm excited because I'm doing something a little different this week.
I feel like half the time you say you're doing something a little different, so maybe that is now the new normal.
Maybe. Now we're just having a normal, boring episode.
Yeah.
Well, before we get started on my thing of the week, I just wanted to talk about our first sponsor. This episode of I Love This, You Should Too is brought to you by the Alberta Association of Optometrists, which is proudly celebrating a century of caring for Albertans.
Ooh, that's a lot of eyeballs in 100 years.
That is a lot of eyeballs. 1 in 4 school-aged kids has a vision problem, yet 80% of learning is visual for a child. That's why booking family eye exams with an optometrist helps ensure learning success. You can't detect hidden eye problems, but your optometrist can. Did you know that Alberta Health covers annual eye exams up until your child's 19th birthday? Book your family's eye exam today at optometrist.ab.ca.
And I can attest to how true some of those stats are because I got glasses, I think, when I was about 14, but I think I needed them for many years before that. Because when I got them, I was like, oh my God, is this what life is like for the rest of you? Look at all these things I can see.
Yeah, I got them, I think, in grade 1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I've, like, never known life really, like, cognitively without glasses.
Mm-hmm.
And I could never understand my classmates who only wore them to, like, look at the board and stuff. Like, because I'm a glasses all the time person.
Yes.
So I'm, like, very, like, baffled by the fact that some people have eyes that are still good enough just to need them for, like, certain things.
What a world that must be.
Yeah. Yeah, so I love a good optometrist appointment, and I love a new pair of glasses even more.
And I, unlike dentists and doctors, have no bad associations with optometrists. Mine have been nice. But I have had a bad doctor and a real bad dentist. Yeah. My dentist slapped me.
What?
Yeah, he slapped all of us.
What?
Yeah. He
all your brothers and sisters?
Yeah. Well, I think there were some that were too old that never went to this one. But yeah, he hit us.
Do you still see him?
No.
Okay, I was like...
No, he was an
I know
old man then.
when we started dating, you already had a dentist, so
Yeah.
I was wondering if that was...
My new dentist is cool.
He doesn't slap you.
Dr. Banks, you're a good dude. Well, now that we've talked about our favorite dentists, Samantha, what is your thing of the week?
My thing of the week was recommended to me earlier this week, actually. It's called Only Murders in the Building. It's on Disney Plus. I guess it's a Hulu show as well. And it's got Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez in it. And so right off the bat, I was really interested because it's got such an odd cast.
Yes, it is.
But it's about three neighbors who don't know each other at the beginning of the show, who are all obsessed with this true crime podcast. And then a murder happens in their building, and they start to make their own podcast about the murder in the building.
Oh, so it's a podcast show.
Yes.
Interesting.
It was, it's cool because Steve Martin plays an actor from like I think a 70s or 80s sitcom about crime fighting, I guess.
That's the name of the show?
No, I can't remember what it's actually...
Crime fighting, I guess.
can't remember what it's actually called, but people recognize him all the time, and so he's like past famous.
Okay.
Martin Short is like a theater director, so he's very like flamboyant and bright and loud and like always has like really great ideas.
Wait, a Martin Short character where he's constantly talking and always on and
Yeah.
like way too loud?
Basically.
What a departure for him.
I know. And then Selena Gomez. Do you know about Selena Gomez?
I know who she is.
Okay.
I don't know if I know about her. I don't have her backstory.
Okay.
But I know that she was a singer. I think she comes from the Disney world and is now a big draw, both box office and concert-wise, I think.
Yes, yeah, all of the above. I really like Selena Gomez. I like some of her music. I didn't watch her breakout show, Wizards of Waverly Place, which was a
I've
Disney
heard of
show.
that. I've never seen
I've
it,
heard of
but-
it. I might have seen like an episode or two, but I wasn't like in the demographic watching it because
No, I think we're
she's
too
younger.
old.
Yeah, but now she's also acting, and I think she does a really good job in this, playing a girl with secrets.
Oh. And it's interesting because you are kind of between the two demographics that these three characters would get, right? Because you're too young to really know like Steve Martin stuff. I don't know. Have you seen many of his movies, or do you
Was
remember?
he in Airplane?
No, he was not.
Okay.
Leslie Nielsen was in Airplane.
Okay,
think
I
maybe that's
forgot.
it. Have you seen Airplane?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. I thought I'd do it eventually on the show.
No, I saw it because Leslie Nielsen is also a Victoria School grad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So you knew you saw it because of Leslie Nielsen, but you thought Steve Martin was...
I don't know. I don't know. You know how my brain works.
So like The Jerk, things like that.
I don't think I've seen much Steve Martin.
It was funny.
I've seen some things I think that he's been in. But yeah, so I really like the kind of odd coupleness of these three characters. There are 10 episodes, only 3 have been released so far.
Oh.
So you can kind of get in, and it'll be done at the end of October. So yeah, so you've got a little catch up to do, and then they're releasing episodes weekly. But I really enjoy this. It's got some really fun cameos. I don't want to ruin any of them though.
Can you tell me one that might interest me?
Yes.
Gregory Peck is in this.
Yeah.
Back from the grave. Audrey Hepburn. Andre 3000.
Tina Fey
Okay.
is in the
I like
first
Tina Fey.
episode. Sting is also in this.
Oh, I do not like Sting.
He's playing himself though, and he's a jerk in it. So
Good, that makes sense.
yeah.
I have to do this every time someone talks about Sting or the Police. The Police aren't good. They're overrated.
Yeah.
Most of their songs are just saying the same line over and over again. How many times do they say sending out an SOS in that song? 306, I think.
Oh, okay.
And I know it's fun to sing along with Roxanne. It's a fun song to sing. It's not a good song.
No,
It's fun
not.
for karaoke and to sing while drunk. The Police are not good.
Yeah, because Roxanne's like a fun scream it while drunk at the bar kind of song.
Yeah.
But it's not good for dancing, and it's not like...
It's not a good song. The Police aren't good.
No.
They just took something that black people had been doing for a long time, did it much worse, and then they were famous because they were British and white. but I'll stop talking about the police. I have to do it every time someone
I know you do.
mentions it.
I know.
They're no good.
I left you some time to do that.
Thank you. Thanks for budgeting in my crotchetiness. Being crotchety about a band who came and went before I was born, really.
I just know that this is our life forever. It's me just budgeting a time for your crotchetiness. I
That's the most accurate thing you've said.
Part of the reason I really like this is because clearly someone at this production company or the writer was like, what's cool right now? True crime. What's also cool? Podcasts. People like...
Let's keep telling everyone that. Podcasts are cool,
Podcasts
folks.
are cool, guys. Just please listen to it. And I feel like it's a little bit pandering because they know that like this is such a big thing now is true crime podcasts and also shows that are very like visually appealing. So this show has a lot of really good sets. This building that they live in, it's called the Arcadia, and it's I think it's like a rent-controlled apartment where people live like forever, basically, and pass it down through the generations of their family because they're these huge palatial kind of room sets that they're filming in, and they're just gorgeous. And each apartment that you get to see has a completely different feel to it, even though they're clearly all in the same building. So I really enjoyed the look of this. Selena Gomez has some incredible outfits, all of which I want. Although she wears more yellow than I think I could pull off, but
Could I always budget time in the podcast for you to talk about outfits?
Yeah.
So it makes
there we go.
It's a perfect balance.
It's a perfect balance. So if you are looking for a show to kind of get hooked on and watch weekly, you can check out Only Murders in the Building, starring Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez on Disney Plus.
And I'm not sure if you explicitly said it, but is this a comedy, right?
It's a comedy.
Okay.
They describe it as like a dark comedy.
Is it dark?
Well, there's a murder, so yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes you can treat murder lightly, like Weekend at Bernie's.
I think it's
dark. I don't think he was murdered, but still.
I think it's dark because all of like the three main characters have like secrets that they're not sharing with the other two.
Ooh,
so
secret.
You slowly kind of learn about their backstories while they're alone in their apartments, and it's really interesting to kind of slowly get the backstory, which is why I'm not saying too much about it.
Sure.
Because there are some like big reveals even in like the first episode. So
along with comedy, would you say that like murder mystery is kind of the genre of this one?
Yeah, and they do it in a fun way. Like
Okay.
it's light, it's fun, and I believe the episodes are only like half an hour, so they're like fun quick watches, but you'll be like hooked with the story.
All right, I think I might check that out.
It's pretty fun. Okay. Well, Indy, what's your thing of the week? What have you been so into?
My thing of the week is also a TV show. It is the Netflix original Rilakkuma and Kaoru.
Oh.
I'm not sure how to best go about talking about this show, so I'm going to use your help a little bit because you just watched a few episodes with me right before this. So in your mind, what's a one-sentence description of this show?
A businesswoman somehow ends up with two bears and a bird as roommates.
Yes. Yeah, there you go. That's the premise.
Hijinks ensue.
Yeah. Or sometimes they don't.
Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just have like a nice time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty cute show. There are some things that I'm still not like 100% sure about, but it mostly has to do with whether the bear is a bear or is wearing bear pajamas.
Or is a toy. Yeah, that's never quite clear. But to go back, if you're not familiar, Rilakkuma is a Japanese cartoon character kind of used on like pencil cases, and there's stuffed toys you can get from the claw machines on the side of the road, created by a company called SanX, and they do lots of good, really funny little characters, and I love the descriptions of all of them. So some of their other ones are Atsugari-san, who is a spirit who hates the cold and loves hot dumplings. There's Abouchu, who is a mouse with a very slothy nature. These are the descriptions
I
they
like
give.
these are funny.
There's Buru Buru Dog, who's an extremely tiny, constantly trembling and weeping dog.
What?
There's Beer-chan, who is a 20-year-old beer fairy, who, of course, enjoys beer.
I want a beer fairy.
I think you are a beer fairy.
Am I a beer fairy?
And Baketama-chan is a very popular one, too. When I used to teach abroad, everybody's pencil cases had him on it. He's a ghost egg, and he's extremely runny and half-cooked, and his hobby is changing his form.
Oh, okay.
But none of that really matters because in this show, it's just Rilakkuma, who's a smaller bear, Kiroitori, who is a little yellow chick, and Kaoru, who is the woman.
It's such a funny premise.
So it focuses on this woman who works in an office and her life is really stressful and she feels very unimportant at work. She's not very decisive. She worries a lot. And one of the biggest problems is that she feels left behind because most of her friends have gone and gotten married and have children. And the people in her office are younger than her and never want to take her out when they go out. And there's one episode when they're talking in the bathroom and she can hear them.
Yeah, that was sad.
They're not like super mean, but they say like, oh, why don't you bring her out to this time? And they're like, oh, no, she's no fun. And that's it. They don't say anything terribly mean. They just say, like, she's too serious. She's great at work, but I wouldn't want to hang out with her.
Yeah.
And she just is so sad because of that.
That's so sad.
So then she somehow comes to live with these two bears and Bird. It's not until the second last episode that we get a flashback to see how they move in. And it doesn't really answer a lot of questions, but I kind of love that, and it's part of its charm. But she acts like somewhere between a mom and a roommate to them, and they're somewhere between pets and roommates. Like it's unclear
because
if
she's
they
clearly
are...
taking care of them.
Yeah, but it seems like they have childlike intelligence. Mm. They don't seem like they're just like a bear or a bird. They can, right?
Yeah,
they're smarter. They're like human level smart, I think.
I would say so.
It's very unclear
because they like eat and interact kind of like children.
Yeah, and they like, sit at a table and eat pancakes with a fork and knife.
And like young adolescents, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not children, but like young teenagers.
Yeah, and she lives like a very simple life that is maybe a little sad as well. She's constantly overwhelmed with work, but it's nothing like too extreme. Mm-hmm. She does get kind of exasperated with them because they're often like making a mess or eating all of her food, but it's never like a point of contention for very long, and it's never played for comedic effect. It's not like, oh, they're making a big mess, how silly, and then she gets mad at them and that's funny. It's just that she's a little disappointed and frustrated with them sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like roommates, but also just like children.
Yeah.
Which is why it's hard. It's a hard line to define.
So Rilakkuma is always very lazy because I think it literally translates to leisure bear or like relaxing bear, which is very funny.
I want to be a leisure bear when I grow up.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what retirement is.
I think so, yeah.
Just going to live my life as a leisure bear. And this is also a stop motion show. So everything is created out of mostly fabric, actually, and I think it looks great because they look like toy bears and birds. They do,
yeah. The way that the animation is done in this, it definitely looks like some of the stuff is actually real. Like we saw pancakes in one episode, and
I think they might have been real
were just real pancakes. Yeah, so it's interesting. Some of the stuff is real, and some of it isn't real, but the way that all the real and the not real things kind of interact makes it seem very lifelike.
And it's a beautiful looking show, I think. And especially when they're outdoors, the way they do the lighting makes it look like actual daylight. And when they have sunny days and rainy days, you really feel the moods that go along with it. And it takes place in kind of suburban Tokyo, so it's not like high rises and everything. It's way out there. And the sets are just beautiful. I think sometimes if you weren't to have seen this bear walking around, you might think that that's real, not just a set that they've made. I'm not exactly sure how they do it, but the humans are made of like modeling clay or whatever it is that they use for claymation. And I realized that this kind of sounds like, oh, it's just one of Indy's silly little shows that he watches. But seriously, This show is so good.
Well, we just watched it for so before we record, we usually sit on the couch and get our notes together or pull up whatever websites we need and stuff. We ended up watching 2 hours of this.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Oh, see, you even think it's good.
I enjoy it. No, it was a fun little TV show to get into.
It's funny because I said how great it was probably a couple of years ago, and you're like, yeah, okay. But then when you actually sit down and watch it, you realize that I think this is one of the best shows of the last couple of years.
Yeah, I didn't expect today even, because I know I've seen it when we've been, I've come and sat on the couch with you while you've been watching it, and we watched a couple minutes of it and then watched whatever show we're watching together instead. But I came and sat down fully intending to get my notes and everything together for the podcast, and then got so into this show, and we were laughing. There's not a lot of shows where we laugh out loud while we're watching it.
Mm-hmm.
This one's special.
And it's also sad a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And the show has a beautiful stillness to it, which I often talk about when we watch Japanese animated movies, because they allow moments to land, and it's not quite to the point of that transcendentalist style that you hate so much, but if it's raining, there'll just be a shot of rain falling on these flowers for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Why not?
I like that.
And since only one of the characters in the show speaks, the rest just kind of use sounds, there's often minutes at a time where there will be no dialogue. It's just the bear or the bird or her walking around and doing things. And sometimes it's really funny. Sometimes it's a little sad. I guess bittersweet is probably the best way to describe this show. It's the most miraculous blend of the bizarre and the mundane, and I just love it so much for that. So the bears and the bird never talk, yet somehow they have very distinct personalities, and although their faces are nothing more than either dots or lines depending on their mood, they also manage to be really expressive. And for a show about a couple of bears and a bird, it manages to be incredibly specifically relatable. So here's the premise of a couple of the episodes, because I think that's a good way to tell people what the show's all about. So there's one episode where she's considering getting a cat, but a coworker told her that a single woman with a cat is a bad idea, and she's just one step away from being a crazy cat lady. So she goes to a store, and she's looking at cats, and she's looking at their prices, and then she thinks kind of aloud, I wonder if humans had price tags, how much would I be worth? And then she thinks about it and she says, the truth is, I have no value. I feel like debris caught up in the whirlwind of life. And then she has kind of an imaginary scene where it's her falling through water and just kind of floating away.
Yeah.
And it's so poignant and heartbreaking, but then you get a funny little bear dancing around, right? I like in one episode, she has an umbrella and she says, I've had this umbrella for 12 years. That's it.
Yeah. And her boots. She's like, I've had these boots for 8 years.
I like that. I appreciate that. And it speaks to the themes of that specific episode, because there are things underlying all of these cute creatures running around. One episode I liked a lot, she's had a really hard day at work, but she's excited because it's her kind of annual meetup with this group of friends from college. And she's sad because fewer and fewer of them have been coming each year. They've moved away, they have families, things like that. So she makes this picnic, and the bears are all getting into hijinks, and they're trying to eat the food she's making. And she says, no, you can't have it, it's for my friends. And so they're sad. And she goes to meet her friends, and while she's gone, the bears are trying to make food, and they keep burning the pancakes. That's it. That's the big joke.
Yeah.
But when she goes to meet her friends, she's walking, and we get another one of these kind of dreamlike sequences where she's so happy, and there's these cherry blossoms floating everywhere. I think there's a little song there. And she goes and she gets a place, and she's waiting for her friends, and she has beer and this whole picnic she's made. And one at a time, they each text and say, oh, I can't come, I'm stuck at work. Oh, is that today? I forgot about it. Oh, my kid's sick, I can't come. So everyone cancels. And she just sits there and drinks the beer in a park by herself. And it's so sad. And then she goes home and she says, fine, here, you guys can have it. And she gives the picnic to them. And they jump in and they start eating all of the food, but then they look at her and she's just sitting on the ground, clearly sad. And then they pack it back up and get a blanket, and then they pull her outside, and then they all go sit outside and have the picnic together. And she looks at the cherry blossoms on this picnic now, and she wonders why everyone loves them so much. And then she says, I wonder if I were pink, people might notice me too.
Yeah,
And
there's
it's so
like
heartbreaking, but it's
such an underlying kind of sad theme.
But it has all of that sadness always, but for the most part, in the end, there is a small kind of glimpse of happiness because she doesn't have those friends anymore, but she has these bears and the bird now. Yeah. So she does have something in her life. A lot of these episodes are like that. Something very sad happens, and kind of in our minds, maybe the sad outweighs the happy, but there always is a little bit of happy. And so I guess it is kind of an optimistic show in the end. But I think it's more about finding the joy in those little happinesses, in those little escapes.
Right.
Rather than saying, hey, everything turns out for the best. Because a lot of times in the show it doesn't.
No.
And a lot of times in life it doesn't. But what this show and she is very good at doing is embracing small moments of joy where she finds them, even though they are few and far between.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really nice lesson. A really nice, realistic lesson. So these types of shows, I've just learned that it's kind of a theme, and they're called iyashikai or yashike. I'm not sure exactly. And it's a Japanese word that could be translated to like healing or fixing almost.
Oh.
And these types of shows often have very little or no conflict, but they place emphasis on the small delights that you can find in life, and they're meant to relax and soothe people who are going through really hard days at work. Oh. So you're meant to like come home, watch this, and not kill yourself.
Like relax, yeah. Wow.
And I love them. I like this one a lot. There's another cartoon called Aggretsuko, which is a Sanrio one, so like the Hello Kitty family. Right. But again, it's very similar in a lot of ways because the main character is a cute cartoon character. They're all animals in the office, but she works in an office. She's underappreciated, overworked, and her only release is when she goes to the karaoke bar, or not bar, like the karaoke room, and sings metal. She loves heavy metal, but she only does it alone, and that's kind of what that show's about. And it's just about little things to deal with how pointless or overwhelming life can seem sometimes.
Wow.
So it's a little cartoon show. It can be super cute if you have little kids. They'll probably love just watching the bears roll around.
It's super entertaining just to see.
And if you are like me and are constantly at odds with the very nature of your life, then it's good for that too.
Yeah.
Well, that's my pitch. It's called Rilakkuma and Kaoru, and it's available on Netflix if you use that. And they don't look like they're having a second season, but I think there is this show called, it's something like Rilakkuma at the amusement park or something, and I think that's a follow-up to it. So I'm not sure where it's going to go, but I'm very excited to find out, because this is a little hidden gem, and you should check it out.
Yeah.
Also, episodes are like 15 minutes long, so watch a couple and tell me what you think.
And that's how we ended up watching 2 hours of it.
Yeah.
Because we're like, oh, just like one more.
Yeah, because they go down so easy. And
do.
They are very relaxing. Well, before we get into your big pick for next week, Samantha, let's thank our second sponsor, and that is Yegpodfest, which is presented by the Edmonton Community Foundation in partnership with the Alberta Podcast Network and LitFest, which is Canada's nonfiction festival. Running October 1st through 3rd, Yegpodfest will be held all online this year, so anyone can tune in and experience it. Some of the events include masterclasses with professional podcasters, panel discussions, feature interviews, and many more things. Some of the Alberta Podcast Network member shows will be there too, so you can join us for the virtual party from October 1st through 3rd. So to check out the full lineup, get tickets, and find out exactly what is going on, head down to yegpodfest.ca. That's YEGPODFEST Maybe if we get super successful and famous from talking too seriously about children's cartoons, we can be on there one day.
Yes, we could have what would our panel be called?
Making it work when you hate your partner's movies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would be good. How to drink wine quietly while podcasting.
I think the panel I would lead is taking out wine drinking noises and letting your partner think that she drinks wine quietly.
You're the best.
I'm sure all of our listeners know that oftentimes I don't get a chance to take them all out because when I'm talking, you often hear a but clearly into a wine glass.
It's true, because sometimes I'm like halfway through taking a sip and then I agree with you on something, and then it's the wine glass sound.
Well, Samantha, let's get into it. To wrap things up, what is the movie we are going to be watching for next week, and how is this a little bit different than we usually do things?
So, remember a couple weeks ago when we watched Burlesque?
Oh, many weeks ago. Yes.
And we titled that I Should Have Seen This, and So Should You.
Something like that,
Something like that, yeah. So we're going to have another episode of I Should Have Seen This because I love a lot of the movies that are kind of inspired by this. And I think that it's about time that I see it. And I know that you've seen it. We will be watching the 1989 American black comedy teen film, Heathers. Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. Actually, just last week on the podcast, I think I said to you, oh, you should watch Heathers.
Yeah.
You'll probably like it. Because I think it is a good combination of our two sensibilities because it is a kind of Mean Girls-esque high school comedy, but it's pretty dark and a little bizarre and I think quite funny.
Yeah, so this kind of started, so I've always kind of known that I need to watch Heathers. It's been on my list of things, but it's never been like number one, and there's always, something new to watch. So I just hadn't gotten around to it. And then we talked about Winona Ryder, who was in Beetlejuice, which was last week's movie. And I was like, wait a minute, I haven't seen Heathers. And this kind of ties into like the Winona Ryder conversation that we had last week. So I thought, why not watch it? I have done everything I can this week not to look it up.
Okay.
And not to read anything about it. I haven't seen a trailer. I have only seen like kind of pop culture references to it in the past.
Okay, so normally we do this the other way, but you who are choosing this movie, what do you know about it?
So I know that Mean Girls was like quite inspired by it. I love Mean Girls. Like that's one of my favorite movies. So I think that it's about a group of girls who are like popular, and then I know there's murder in it, but I don't really know how that like all fits in.
Okay. Do you know anyone else who's in it?
Is Christian Slater in it?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the only person other than Winona Ryder.
And Shannon Doherty?
I know Shannon Doherty. She was in 90210?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Also before my time.
Oh, yeah, me too.
But yeah, so I don't know anything about this. I don't really want to watch a trailer because I kind of want to like go into a blind.
Okay.
And yeah, I don't know. What are your experiences with Heathers?
So I've only seen it once, probably when I was around 20-ish.
Yeah.
I thought it was quite funny, but I didn't really dwell on it. It was kind of when I was watching a lot of movies. I was consuming a lot and kind of figuring out what my style and genre and favorite directors and actors were. So I was just consuming a lot of movies. It was like my first year that I was taking film studies classes, and I think the year after I sold my first script, so I was like really into things and I just wanted to consume as much as I could.
Right.
And that was recommended to me from a friend of mine, and I liked it. I just now am starting to remember a lot of funny things. I think I might be remembering some things that might not age well, but I guess we'll see. It has been a long time since I've seen it as well, so I'm excited to see it again.
So that's one thing that I'm interested in seeing, because this is one that, like, if you talk about Mean Girls, you talk about Heathers. If you talk about like some of those high school movies, you talk about Heathers and how it was kind of like the beginning of a genre.
Yeah, I think so. I think I would have to sit and think about it more, but in my experience, a lot of the high school movies from before then, a lot of the 80s high school movies had to deal with a outsider single person who is the protagonist and then is going to win people over and become kind of popular in one way or another. I know there's a lot of variations on that, but it tended to be kind of around those things. And I don't remember ones that really kind of satirized that whole thing and looked at high school in a more satirical, over-the-top way. I feel like earlier high school movies were very overwrought with emotion a lot of the times, but in a very earnest way. They're like, this is what high school it is, and it is life or death. And I think this movie is very tongue-in-cheek and jokey and satirical in a lot of ways.
Right.
So I think it was a good departure and almost a commentary on a lot of the high school movies of the time.
Interesting.
But I'm going to have to rewatch it. I'm excited to rewatch it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this because I do feel like this is one that like is missing from a genre that I really enjoy. I've watched a lot of high school movies. I've watched a lot of like things that say they are like inspired by Heathers. So I think it's time.
For audiences today who maybe are more familiar with the newer movies, do you have some that you would say that you think are inspired by this? Outside of Mean Girls, of course.
Okay, I'm going to say Mean Girls. I think, I don't know, there's like I'd say like High School Musical, because it's that like high school situational kind of feeling in a movie. Okay. Where there's popular people and, you know, the shy like loser kind of and that kind of thing. There's been lots of TV shows like Gossip Girl, I'd say, is probably kind of inspired by Heathers, in that like the main character is very mean, but still somehow has like the love and adoration of her peers. So I think there's lots of things that are definitely inspired by this, but it's just like I also then think about this and I've seen so many things that are probably from like that came after this movie that I just can't believe I haven't seen it. I'm almost embarrassed that I haven't seen it.
But I wonder if it is still kind of known, because it is relatively old. Mm-hmm. And I know everyone thinks of those John Hughes movies when it comes to 80s high school movies, Pretty in Pink and Breakfast Club and all of that. And Heathers being a kind of a weirder movie, maybe less commercially successful. I'm not sure if it is as famous today as a lot of those other ones. To me, it holds like a special place, but I'm not sure how well known it is. But you think a lot of your friends know about Heathers and have seen Heathers?
I believe so. My friend Kim, who has officially finished our podcast and all the movies in it, she made a list of like her, like basically she made a list of all of the 80s high school movies, and she says she's seen pretty much everything. So, except for a few of the TV shows that she listed. So Kim is a big watcher of things. So she said, I can't believe you haven't seen Heathers when I mentioned it. I also realized that I haven't seen a lot of things from like before I was able to go to the movie theater.
Right.
So I don't know. I didn't go back and watch older things.
And it is like kind of a weird movie, because one of the fun things that I know about it is originally they wanted Stanley Kubrick to direct it.
Yeah.
So that clearly it's going to be in my wheelhouse there.
Yes.
So when you're saying, oh, it's in the vein of Gossip Girl and things like that, I'm thinking like, I think it's kind of in the vein of Dr. Strangelove a little bit, perhaps. Maybe it's a combination of those two worlds.
Maybe, which means it's going to be a very interesting movie to watch, because those are two very different things.
Have you seen Dr. Strangelove?
No, I haven't.
Okay, maybe we'll do it on this sometime.
Probably. Okay, well, since we're not going to watch a trailer, and I don't want to, like, do any research on the internet to ruin it for myself, I think this is probably a good point to tell everyone where they can watch it.
It's available on Amazon Prime if you have that. If not, there's a lot of those other sources that you can rent from where it's available as well. And you maybe check out your library. We might even have it. They might even have it.
Indy is the library.
If you're in Edmonton,
Indy is the whole library everywhere.
That's it. It's just me.
Okay.
Although I think we're kind of popular amongst library folks.
Oh, I
So
do love a good library.
You are
folk.
the library.
You are the library. All of you are fabulous fans.
I don't know about fans. That might be a little...
I do love the library because I have not bought a book this year, but I have listened to 57 audiobooks so far. For free because of the library. And I tried to sign one of my coworkers up for a library card like at work on Friday. So
what an important service that deserves more funding.
Exactly. I'm doing my part.
Is someone out there listening to this that... I think anyone who could make those decisions does not care what I have to say.
No.
So.
But I'm trying to do my part to keep the library relevant and exciting.
Thank you. Me too.
Okay, well, we'll see you next week when we talk about the 1989 movie Heathers.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. This is the most romantic part of our week.
No, that would be so sad.
Yeah, you're right.
If this was the most romantic part of our week when we talk about movies one of us hates.